Welcome everyone to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today as we dive into some very earthly things. Today's podcast is all about the beautiful things in life. And I'm not even talking about spiritual life. I'm talking about 3D life. This is 100% about focusing on 3D. And the reason is as we've been journeying through these 4 years of growth, these past 4 years where we've actually grown 100 years worth of consciousness within the span of 4 years, we are right kind of on the tail end of it now. And it has been a lot. And I know all of you can absolutely nod your head at that and be like, absolutely, it has been a lot. And although we can know that, we can understand that, it still has taken a toll. And I have to say, I don't think I've come across anyone who is just all flying high and all is well. Everybody has had some speed bumps, some roadblocks. Some have had some really significant ones, some big losses. But the thing is we keep getting up and we keep trying again and we keep moving forward. And so I was really inspired by Spirit too, to talk about some simple beauties of this 3D Earth life, so that we can sort of recalibrate our energy and find the joy in simple things again. And maybe I shouldn't say again, but as well, because there's a lot going on in the world, but we can also find gratitude for simple things. And sometimes we miss them and we get so caught up in life that we just let them pass by. But when we stop for a moment and notice a few of them, it helps highlight more of them. And the more that we see, the more we can be refilled and have our life force energy refilled by simple things on our planet here, about being human, about completely being human. Because yes, we're on a spiritual journey because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but we also have to embrace and honor the very human experience. And it's not just the tough lessons, it is also the funny little things, the happy little synchronicities, those little joyous moments that if we really let ourselves, they can fill our cup so much. And so I want to talk about those in this Life is Beautiful podcast. And I really took a lot of inspiration from this wonderful book. It's called The Book of Awesome by Neil Pasricha. I might totally be butchering his last name there, but I love this book. So for any of you that want to read it, I definitely recommend getting it because it is a great book full of random things that make you happy. And so I want to talk about some of these to help inspire all of you again to notice the little things. Pay attention to the little things because they can have such a big impact. So one of the ones that I want to start off with, which I'm sure all of you have had happen at some point, is that moment when you're driving and you end up hitting a whole ton of green lights in a row. I know we've all been there when we've hit tons and tons of red lights and we're trying to get somewhere really fast and we keep hitting red lights, but what about the moments when the lights are just green? And we realize that we got to our destination way faster because we were in the perfect, beautiful, synchronistic timing to hit every single green light. You can't help but feel like you kind of won this little mini lottery. Like if there was ever a state of flow, that would be it. Hitting all those green lights. I absolutely love that. Now, another really fun one is, that feeling when you get into your bed and you've just changed your sheets and you have brand new, crisp, clean, yummy laundry smelling sheets. There is nothing better. I celebrate that in my house every time. And it's not because we take forever to change our sheets, but it is the joy that I feel from being in those crisp sheets when it's like nicely tucked in and it's all like perfect. When we can sit in the energy of joy from something as simple as that, that can help re-inspire us to find joy in other things. So the next time that you change your sheets and when you crawl into those sheets that night, take a moment of reveling in the feeling of those sheets because you essentially created that moment for yourself. And then you get the opportunity to completely revel in it. So bask in it. I call it Blanket Bay. A friend of mine many years ago used to call bed Blanket Bay because you get to go swim in Blanket Bay. And we use that term at home. And so whenever there are new crisp sheets in Blanket Bay, it is one of my happiest places to be. And that's a beautiful way to fill up on gratitude. Now, in addition to talking about beds and sleep, another really beautiful feeling is, when you wake up in the morning and maybe you've had a busy week and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to work, I'm late. And then you realize it's Saturday. The feeling of waking up on a Saturday when you think it's not actually Saturday is epic. It can just fill your body and your mind and your energy with such a gift. If that ever happens to you, breathe it in, because it's almost like your mind was ready to be way further ahead than you were, but you get this beautiful sensation of just time. Because for most people, whatever your Saturday is, whether your Saturday is a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but that moment when you hit that Saturdays and Sundays are these gifts of time, if we allow it, of course, because we could pack it full. But it's gifts of time. And so when that gift of time sneaks up on you, it is like an extra dose of, what do you want? What do you want to do? Free time to be you. And maybe that is to lay in your bed because you changed your sheets the night before and just enjoy Blanket Bay. But either way, waking up and realizing that it is Saturday when you've forgotten is one of the best feelings ever. Now, another feeling that I absolutely love, and I know especially, I know there'll be a lot of women that understand this feeling, but really anybody who wears tight clothing, the feeling of taking off tight clothing, tight pants, or a bra for that matter at the end of the day when you've been wearing them for hours, taking it off and your body feeling the freedom to just be not constrained is one of the best feelings. And what's really interesting is I've had some pretty epic out-of-body experiences, astral travels where so much of my soul energy is traveling beyond. And when it comes back into the confines of the body, oftentimes for me, it can feel really squishy. And it's like it takes a little bit to recalibrate into the density and the kind of tight feeling of the body. And so I find that every time that I take off tight clothes, whatever I was wearing, there is such a feeling of expansion and freedom of being. And I get that from a physical sensation of taking off that tight clothing. And so there's something so beautiful about that. So the next time that you take off your Lulus, whatever tight clothing you're wearing, your bra, maybe it's even like taking off a tight toque or a hat too, and that freedom of not being confined, allow that to inspire you to take that bigger breath, to feel the expanse of your body, of your spirit, of your energy, and revel in the feeling of what it is to be free. Even in that moment, it's such a beautiful thing to inspire you for something so much more. Okay, now here's another one, coming back to sleep. You know the feeling when you wake up before your alarm clock and you realize you have a lot of time left to sleep? I love that feeling. I absolutely love when I wake up and say my alarm is set for 6:15. I wake up and it's 5:30 and I'm so tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, my alarm's going to go off. And I realize I have more time to sleep. That is golden. To me, that is like the golden hour where beautiful dreams can happen. It's that kind of twilight theta state energy that often happens for me anyway in that state. And so I find waking up before my alarm, realizing I have time to sleep a little bit longer is like this easy entry into a meditative state, but also this very comforting human feeling of more time in Blanket Bay, which, as you can tell, I love. So something to consider, instead of being like, oh man, I have to get up right away. It's like, no, I have a few more extra minutes. My alarm didn't go off right now. My alarm is going to go off in 20 more minutes, 30 more minutes. Changing your perspective on that experience can give you such a beautiful, happy, peaceful gift. All right, now, what about the feeling of when you are driving and you finally find a parking spot and you're stressing about trying to find parking, you get to that spot, you look at the parking meter and you realize there's still time left on the parking meter. And maybe what you needed is half an hour and you realize there's 35 minutes on the parking meter on this one spot that just opened up just for you at the right time. Like that is divine flow and divine timing. And I love that feeling because it feels like a little gift from the universe. And what's so interesting is for any of you that have ever been running around somewhere, you put some money in the parking meter and maybe the smallest amount of time you can put is half an hour, but all you need is 5 minutes. And you're kind of like, annoying. What you can ponder is that you have just created an experience for somebody else where they get to come into a parking spot and have some time left. And that might just inspire their day. So again, it's that perspective of, it's annoying for you to have to pay that for parking, but what you're doing is you're also setting up universally a beautiful, timely experience for somebody else that may just need that beautiful, timely experience. So I love that because to me, that's a reminder of how we are all involved in these beautiful divine moments and often in ways that we don't realize that we are. So next time that happens where you are the person who has to put in the extra time, just know you're setting up something beautiful. And if you're the person that arrives with that beautiful meter with perfect amount of time for yourself, revel in the moment that was provided for you as a little universal pat on the back of, we got you. Okay, another one. What is this one here? Oh, okay. So here's another lovely moment is, when you are talking on the phone with somebody, or say especially when it's like, it could be an old friend, but I'm kind of seeing it in a way of like a new person that's come into your life. And let's put it that way, because I have been talking a lot about divine partnerships coming in. So you meet this divine potential person and you're talking on the phone, and that moment when you can almost hear and definitely feel the person smiling over the phone, right? Like it's not on FaceTime, it's just on the phone, but you can almost hear their smile from something you said, some situation. It's this beautiful experience of knowing someone is feeling so much joy that you essentially hear their smile. To me, that is something so precious and so epic. I love it. I love it. Okay, what's another one? Here's a really good one, and I see this often actually, is seeing somebody laugh in their sleep. My son loves to laugh and giggle and talk in his sleep, but to see him laugh in his sleep is the cutest thing, because I know anytime that I've seen that, I'm like, what are you thinking about right now? And it's just like this beautiful little moment that is so simple, but he is somewhere in some form experiencing something, and I get to see a snippet of that while he's sleeping. And I find that so neat. And whether you imagine dream state to just be your brain going through things, well, in that state, then your brain is creating something funny, and it's quite neat. But I like to think of it as they are somewhere experiencing something, and it is coming through their energy in a way that we get to almost touch another world. I think that's beautiful. All right, now another satisfying, happy feeling in a very earthly plane, and I definitely know the feeling of this considering I just came back from Disney World, is getting in a long line before it gets really long. Those moments where you're like, I don't know, and you just pick a line, and then within 2 minutes you look behind you and it is so long and you're like, what? That is a great feeling, because I know in Disneyland that happened a couple times, Disney World, that happened a couple times, but there was also a couple times where we were at the back of the line. And so the moments in which we caught the line at the exact precise time was pretty epic. Such a good, happy 3D feeling. Okay, now let's look at, here's a really good one. The feeling when you have been super busy, super chaotic, talking to lots of people, running here and there, noise here, noise there, and then you reach a point where maybe you get into your car and you turn the radio off and it is silent. That moment of silence where you don't have anything pulling at you. It's just silent. That is such a beautiful feeling on our planet. And oftentimes we are Oftentimes we are so busy and kept so stimulated that we almost forget about the silence, because oftentimes even in the silence, we think silence, but we have a radio on in the background, or there's cars in the background or something like that. And I find especially moments where you get to get out into nature where there is no background noise and you stand there and it's silent, that is a gift. It's like time slows in those moments of silence. I absolutely love it. All right. Here's another one. This is really neat. I have just one more after this. Is getting something with actual handwriting on it in the mail. We are so used to now having emails, texts, and all this stuff, happy birthday texts, all these kind of things, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But isn't it neat when you actually get a piece of mail with someone handwriting something, especially if it's a letter from someone you haven't heard from in a long time? There's something so beautiful. It's a letter that is not an email needing a response, not a bill needing a payment, but a letter with actual handwriting. Oftentimes you can often smell the ink. Maybe there's stickers on the package. There's just something old-fashioned about it that is so nice, so nice. All right. And the last one, let's go with, here's a good one. Especially when you're wearing something brand new. When you spill something on your shirt and it doesn't leave a stain, especially when you're in a rush. And I think we have all been there where, we're running around super busy, got to grab a snack, grab something to eat, quick bite, and then you're like, oh man, and you blob it all over your shirt, but then you manage to get it all off without a stain. That feels like a win. And I would imagine a lot of you parents too would recognize that being a win for the amount of times that you have been, kids in their fingers, you get all kinds of stuff on your shirt. And I know there have been a couple times where what I was planning on wearing is not what I ended up wearing because there was muck on it somehow. But when you manage to get through it and there's nothing there, that's a super win. All right. One last one, and I'm going to leave this one with you all, is finding money in your old coat pocket. I love this one. Now, here's why. Oftentimes, especially in this day and age with everything being more expensive and all this kind of stuff, money being such a thing, we often feel like we don't have enough. And I know I'm generalizing in that statement, and so I really mean it as a generalization because, again, it's totally perspective and all of that. But I would think that for many people, there's a lot of money going out right now with bills, and there's something so neat about the timing when we find money in our pocket. Now, I want to tie this into something very spiritual because sometimes we can leave a $20 bill, a $50 bill, $5 bill, again, whatever, in our pocket and not realize it. But we happen to find it at a very divine timing. Now, if you look back on times that has happened to you, how many times has that happened during a time where you're like, ooh, it's getting really tight, or I don't know how I'm going to make this payment, or, oh, I owe this person this money and oh, I haven't had time to go to the bank. And then we find that money in our pocket. So often, our spirit guides will help set up those situations for us so that at the timing in which we need it, it happens to be there. It's such a beautiful thing, and I've heard so many stories of people where, they gave up their last $100 to someone that needed it because they felt such a need to have to give, even though they're like, I don't know where I'm going to find it, but I'll give them this. And then, later that night, they find $100 in their pocket. And those are those times where, we get change, we get some money. Normally we would put it in our wallet, but we don't. We just throw it in the pocket. We forget about it. Although that seems like such a simple thing, so often that is set up for you to find it at the time in which you need. So I hope that this podcast has helped to bring some joy into the simple things on earth. And whether they are just simple earthly things, or they are things that Spirit has helped kind of create so that they arrive at the divine time, whatever it may be, we can find joy in anything. We can find joy in little moments. We can choose to turn our perspective into something good or something negative at any given time, even through the hard things. So I hope that this podcast inspires you to see life with a little bit more beauty, the simple things, to enjoy them, to laugh at them, to have gratitude in the moments when they happen, so that you bring more happiness, more lightheartedness into your experience as you're going through this great awakening, great change, great spiritual transformation on our planet. So I'll leave that with all of you. And again, as always, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I just love it. I love your comments, your feedback. It's just so much fun. So thank you as always. Do check out avalonspirit.com for lots of different things. If you're looking to expand your journey, we have lots of different personal journey guides to help you through astrology, mediumship, past life readings, Akashic records, you name it. There's a lot there. Healing energy, all of that. So check it out, and I will see you guys all next week.